Welcome to Courtney on Health with myself, Malcolm Berman, and Maxine Margot Rubin.
Maxine Margot Rubin.
Maxine
But the star of this the show, the lead on this show is Courtney. It's Courtney on Health. So hi, Courtney.
Hi.
How are you? So we'll get rolling here. Recent events in the US and around the globe have had an effect on everyone's psyche. We are on a constant merry-go-round of stress, it seems, and we need to find ways to calm ourselves and while remaining healthy, especially in COVID times right now. So the food we eat definitely plays a role in how we get through our days and nights. Knowing what foods we should and shouldn't be eating is often confusing, especially when it feels like the advice changes on a daily basis. So a multitude of evidence suggests that what we eat may also affect the way we feel mentally. So let's kind of delve into ways we can improve our diet and help improve our mood. So Courtney will take us through which foods, herbs, vitamins, and others have an effect on our mood, and what we should be eating to help us navigate each day, so we can, to the best of our ability, because God knows we need to stay healthy and sane, and mind and body connect through what we eat. So Courtney, in simple terms, how does what we eat affect our mood, and how can we decipher what foods are best to kind of reduce this anxiety, this anxiousness that everyone has right now?
Oh, but by the way, you can add to this, or what we drink.
Yes.
Because I think the consumption of wine has been way up. I know it has been up in my house.
Yeah. So
well, the research behind what we eat and drink and how it makes us feel, it's not a particularly old topic, but every year and every decade we go by, we get more and more information to really help us drive better decisions based on the data that we have. So what I've done today is really wanted to highlight those foods, drinks, herbs that have got the best research supporting them and their effectiveness. I do want to start by mentioning, though, particularly when it comes to supplements and herbs, the FDA doesn't regulate what goes in it. All they regulate is the labeling on the outside and medical claims or health claims that are posted on the label. So it really becomes a buyer beware situation. We'll talk about that when we get into some of those herbs. But I want to mention that because simply because something is available over the counter doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be harmless. In fact, you'd be taking it because you want it to have an effect. But you do need to be mindful of what you're taking and make sure you're not overdoing it, even though you could, because it's available over the counter. So let's start with the foods, the minerals, the vitamins that are well studied, and the foods that contain those particular minerals. So at the top of the list is magnesium. So some people might be aware that magnesium is very helpful being a muscle relaxant. People take it for sleep. We know that roughly 500 milligrams of magnesium throughout the day has been shown to help improve sleep. If your sleep is improved, chances are you're waking up more restful, less anxious throughout the day. So really good data behind magnesium. In fact, a common combination of supplements would be a calcium magnesium supplement, and that's usually at about 250 milligrams calcium, 500 milligrams of magnesium. Fortunately, we've got some great food sources. Over the last few weeks when we've been meeting together, we've talked about some of these foods already, but magnesium is found in great amounts in a lot of green leafy vegetables, a lot of seeds, nuts, dairy products. One particularly very high source of magnesium are pumpkin seeds. So it's not just a fall food. You can find them all over the place. They're very versatile. You can throw them into salads and bake with them and throw them into meals and top soups. Super, super excellent source of magnesium. So it's a relatively easy way to get it in with foods. We always say try foods first before you feel like you want to jump over to supplements. Next in line would be selenium. So selenium is an antioxidant, as some people know. So we know that decent amounts of selenium will decrease inflammation. If it decreases inflammation, there's a chance it'll decrease cell damage. All of that relating to how one feels throughout the day, with a reduction in anxiety, tenseness, and improving with sleep. Most people might not know this. Do you guys happen to know what the #1 food source of selenium is?
Selenium.
Have no idea.
All right.
What is it, Courtney?
What is it? It's Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts have a peculiarly high level of selenium in them. The problem is you can really overdo it with selenium. As I mentioned before, you want to be very careful not to exceed 400 micrograms of selenium, whether you're taking that in a supplement form or overdoing it with the food. So to give you a reference for that, no more than 4 Brazil nuts a day, because they're that high in selenium.
Wow.
Above that amount, we really start to see some side effects. So again, you don't want to overdo it. More is not necessarily better, but Brazil nuts are your big gun for that. So soybeans are a good source, as are mushrooms. I know we've been talking about mushrooms a whole lot.
Yeah, Courtney, just one thing which I think people, should do. I know I love nuts, but I cannot control how much I eat. Like with the cashews, I just keep on picking them, and all of a sudden, the cashews are gone. I've learned before I start eating the nuts to separate them in different little packs, in little plastic bags. So I know when there's no more left, I've had the max to eat and stop eating. Because as you say, it's very easy to overeat.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the general serving size for nuts, and you're doing the right thing, Malcolm, you can put them in a little Ziploc bag, palm of your hand, but obviously we all have different palm sizes, right? Chances are your palm is going to be bigger than mine. So roughly a 1/4 cup of nuts, and you can't get into too much trouble to give that, that visual. So moving on to omega-3 fatty acids. We hear a lot about those for heart health, but what we really want to think about is more of an imbalance. What we know about anxiety, mood disorders, we believe that they're linked to, among other things, an imbalance between omega-6 fatty acids, which are really found in more processed foods, soybean oils, processed oils, vegetable oils, and omega-3. That imbalance, meaning that we're getting more omega-6 versus omega-3, we believe is this negative cascade effect of some of the attributes that lead to mood disorders and anxiety. So one way around that, of course, as we've mentioned, is to reduce the amount of processed foods that you eat, but to also bump up the amount of omega-3 fatty acids that you have. Fortunately, they are found in not only marine foods, but also in plant foods as well. So your big sources, most people know salmon, herring, bluefish. Sardines are an excellent source and a very inexpensive source of omega-3 fatty acids. That way we're not sending people to go buy, wild salmon at, $20 a pound. So an excellent source of omega-3 fatty acids. Once again, pumpkin seeds, decent source. Chia seeds, great source. Plant version of omega-3, and walnuts are a very, very good source of that plant version of omega-3 fatty acids. We have known for quite some time of the strong relationship between omega-3 fatty acids and cognitive function. So they're delving a little bit more into omega-3 fatty acids now, not only related to that cognitive health, and of course, what we might know about cardiac disease, but how it may help directly with reducing anxiety among individuals. One of the most strong studies that we had it was strong, but it was a very small population of substance abusers. And by increasing their omega-3 fatty acids, they saw a significant improvement in their mood, better sleep, and a decrease in anxiety. Now, of course, anxiety is self-reported, right? With all the gadgets now, how we can monitor somebody's sleep, but monitoring somebody's anxiety level, it can be a little bit trickier. So a lot of the studies we see are really looking at self-reported data about anxiety levels. If you want to go the supplement route for omega-3 fatty acids, they're widely available, but you do want to look for a combination of the 2 essential fatty acids the DHA and the EPA that are found in supplement form. Anytime you take a supplement, you want to make sure that your healthcare provider is completely aware and on board with what you're taking to make sure that there is not an interaction with a medication you may be taking already, or a health condition that you have already. So it's very important you keep all of that in mind when you're taking anything over the counter. So Maxine, I know we were, maybe talking about, other food, whole foods in general. So, most people I know bash carbohydrates a lot. And,
Yep.
I think in my opinion, it is, unfair because we know that certain foods directly affect our feel good, our sort of sleep hormone, serotonin and melatonin. So pasta being a complex carbohydrate is going to be a natural trigger for serotonin release, which is going to actually help with mood, anxiety, and sleep. Again, remember, coming back to if you're better rested, better sleep, chances are it's going to be less of a factor in your anxiety throughout the day versus somebody who's sleep deprived day after day or week after week. So we look at these foods.
Me, not the best sleeper. So that's something I have to really work on with you, hopefully.
Yeah, Courtney, but
So go ahead.
it's carbohydrates are very confusing for the simple reason they're good carbs and bad carbs, because you can put carbs which are harmful for you versus good carbs. How do you tell the difference?
Well, what you're looking for generally, first of all, the least processed and more complex. What do we mean by complex is it's a longer chain. The longer chain it is, the longer it takes for your body to break down. And why that's helpful is you have less of a rise in blood sugar. If you have a more gradual increase in blood sugar level, this is a good thing. So gradual rise, you don't get this big dip. And once you're down in that dip, you're probably craving more carbohydrates after that. So these complex carbohydrates are a better way to manage that rise in blood sugar level. They're also more than likely going to be a better source of fiber, vitamins, and minerals because they've had less processing done to them and they haven't had that fiber stripped away from it. So the less done to it, the better. Most people don't consider pasta a complex carbohydrate, but it is. So especially if it's cooked al dente, so it's got a little tooth to it, absolutely a good source. And as I mentioned before, it's one of those foods that may release the neurotransmitter serotonin, which may help regulate sleep and mood. Same thing, tryptophan, which everybody knows, like we're past Thanksgiving now, but what's a good source of tryptophan?
Turkey.
That turkey, right? So that sleep. So it's like, okay, well, tryptophan is an amino acid, and we know that something that contains tryptophan, like turkey, is going to break it down into those amino acids, and then those amino acids are going to trigger serotonin levels. Yep. So all of these combinations can help with mood and sleep in the long run.
Yeah, that always.
And potatoes.
So yeah, the potatoes gotten mashed, man. I'm so sad about that. It's really bad.
They get a bad rap.
So with the skin on, not loaded up with bacon, sour cream, 4 tablespoons of butter on there. So regular white potato with the skin on, it's absolutely fine. Sweet potatoes, yams obviously have that extra benefit of beta carotene in it and the carotenoids. So that puts them on a slightly higher plane, but they're absolutely fine. It is it's a whole food, nothing done to it. Bake it. It really needs, especially a sweet potato, needs very little done to it when it's roasted and has that wonderful flavor to it. So,
yeah, Courtney, when is your diet book coming out or your cookbook? I'm anxious to see it.
I'm working on it.
That's awesome. So wait, can't wait to see it in the stores.
I know. Me too.
So I have a question. I have another question.
Yeah.
Actually, I have 2 questions. Not sure which one to go with first, but there are thinking about James Bond and his libido. I know there's foods that that work on your libido. So, and some that I didn't think of, but could you give us a quick little capsule of aphrodisiacs?
Yes, yes,
Ooh,
zinc, baby. That's where that comes from. Now, whether I really don't know, I've actually never combed through the data to actually see, okay, I'm sure they had a bunch of people lining up to like participate in the study, but so the typical aphrodisiacs are, the link is the zinc content. So things like shellfish, so oysters and clams on an shell. Certain vegetables like asparagus have a really good amount of zinc to them and are purported to be aphrodisiacs. However, I have no base, no line in on the studies there.
well, we'll have to follow up on one show, and we'll call it the James Bond episode or something.
And,
You know.
and anyway, guys, it's I hate to say this, it's time to
Oh,
wrap.
wait, no, we got to ask
Oh,
one
okay.
question. I have one more question. So caffeine and alcohol affect your mood, correct?
Absolutely.
And so my big question is, should we eliminate the 3 martini lunch and ditch the late day Starbucks macchiato?
Caffeine, certainly alcohol in the moment might make you feel better, but long run, it's not going to help. That same problem that you had midday is still going to be there the next morning after you've gotten over that alcohol intake. So yes, certainly moderate that. Most people don't realize that when they're drinking caffeine from any source, even green tea, and by the way, green tea is, they're really looking at this more and more in terms of being helpful because of the theanine that's content in there for mood regulation, mood regulator. And chamomile tea, but caffeine for some people can stay in the system for hours and hours. So that 3 o'clock cup of coffee that you might be having for certain individuals is still in their bloodstream, and you have residual caffeine that may be keeping you up, preventing you from getting to sleep, or perhaps getting to sleep, but you're waking up in the middle of the night. So be super mindful of that late cup of coffee during the day, even from things like tea that might have a smaller amount. But as I said, the green tea information that we have about the theanine, it's a great pantry item. Chamomile tea, although it's an herb, not a not from the tea leaf, is very calming, and many people find that that's a good way to start if they're trying to be, reduce anxiety and help with sleep.
How about the newest thing, which of course is a cannabis, which is now becoming legal in many states? Have you done any research on how that affects the body and as far as sleep or relaxation?
Well, it's sort of in its embryonic phase, like the studies we have about it. I mean, it's only been widely available, so most people know that CBD is cannabidiol, so it's the one of the second most active compounds in either hemp or marijuana, available everywhere now. So I think for certain, but it's being touted as a cure for everything. So it's great for headaches, it's great for anxiety. So you really want to, I think the studies show that there's very few side effects related to it. So I would say find it in a reputable place with, with the purest. Don't let it be in a mixed cocktail. So it shouldn't be CBD that does everything, right? It should be isolated for that particular issue, which we're talking about today, anxiety. So I think, again, once you've gotten the clear all from your physician and your healthcare provider, it's probably worth a try. But it's really too early on to really say whether it's effective or not. All we know at this point is that it appears to be safe. So that's at least something to have. But the effectiveness, I think the jury may still be out. Now, herbs and things like kava kava and ashwagandha have got a little bit more research behind them. Again, that's not a food source. It is a root, and they're herbs, so you'd have to find them in their pure form. But kava kava has had a wealth of research in support of it, and it appears to be, again, safe, and it appears to be helpful.
Yeah, guys, I hate to bring this up again, but we're out of time.
Okay, so
we have
let's
enough
just
for
do,
many more shows.
well, let's do some just quick social media tags. Courtney, we can follow you on Instagram at CLG Wellness, and you're coming up with other platforms.
Yes.
And tweet us at TM Shades of Green, and check out malcolmpresents.com for more shows. And just stay tuned every week for some great tips from Courtney on health.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
thank you, guys. Thank you, Courtney. We're looking forward to the next show. Maxine, same thing.
Yes.
Well, we're doing another show on Many Shades of
Thursday.
Green.
That's right. So we will see you guys around the Zoom world.
Right.
Okay, have a great week. Everybody
Uh,
stay well, please.
Stay healthy.
By the way, there's another thing that you should avoid if you want to avoid anxiety. Don't
The
listen to
news.
the news.
Yes.
Between the,
Don't listen to the news right now.
between the politics and the pandemic, you can go
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, just don't do it.
Yeah.
Under
Don't
that
do it.
note,
All
keep
right.
safe, keep
Bye.
safe. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay well.
Take care.